Assalamu alaikum everybody. I welcome you with the greetings of peace. My name is Rahma Hersi and welcome back to the Khadija Way. This week, I am so glad you're joining me to discuss one of the second last principles in Islamic finance, and that is extreme uncertainty and the lack of transparency and gambling as being prohibited in the industry. Join me. So let's understand what we mean by extreme uncertainty and why it's problematic under Islamic finance and ethical finance. Remember, we keep talking about economic justice, we keep talking about fairness and equity. Can we really say we are equitable when we are purchasing what we don't know and selling what we don't own? Exactly. Islamic finance has a principle that says you only sell what you own and you buy what you know. And when there's extreme uncertainty, the extreme uncertainty here could be in the identity of the object, in the species of the object, in the time of payment of the object, especially when you're talking about a deferred sale, in the quantity, in the amount. All this leads to uncertainty. And when we talk about uncertainty, this is problematic, right? So in Islamic finance, it says, no, it is unacceptable to buy what you don't know. And it is unacceptable to sell what you don't own, so as to avoid this whole concept of extreme uncertainty and also the lack of transparency and deceit in the transaction between the parties, because you always want to be able to have trust. Is it possible to have trust when there is things that you don't know or there's extreme unknowns, extreme uncertainty? Obviously not, right? And then when we look at the concept of gambling, well, you're transacting, there's transacting parties where there's a zero sum involved so that you're able to get something bigger. This is completely unacceptable in Islamic finance because there's extreme unknown. You are speculating. More often than not, the people who are doing this, playing the lotto, dealing in gambling, are people who are desperate for more. So you are taking advantage of a desperate situation, again, not leading to equity and fairness. So you can imagine things like the financial derivatives market or the financial futures market is unacceptable in Islam or in Islamic finance. Why? Because the concept, again, of speculation, extreme uncertainty, a lack of transparency. You're buying and selling things you do not know whether they're in existence and who owns them. You're playing the stock market in this regard. All this leads to back to the basics of the principles of Islamic finance, which is it must be equitable, it must promote fairness, it must promote economic justice, and it must be overall beneficial. And this doesn't lead to those concepts, right? So extreme uncertainty, lack of transparency, gambling, all are unacceptable in Islamic finance. And what is encouraged, rather, is buying what you know and selling what you own and knowing that those things are in existence and they are okay, right? But there's always an idea of minor uncertainty, and that is accepted according to the scholars, but there's certain degrees that are given. But whenever it's extreme or major uncertainty, it is unacceptable and we are meant to stay away from. Thank you very much for joining me on this conversation of the principle of extreme uncertainty, lack of transparency and gambling in Islamic finance and how unacceptable they are, and hoping that you have understood that if we only bought and worked within principles that promoted fairness and justice in this regard, and it wasn't always very profit or money motivated at the sake of or the expense of each other, then maybe we'd have a bit more of an ethical world. And join me next week on another episode of the Khadija Way, where we will discuss the last principle of Islamic finance, and continue to share, like, and subscribe on the channel. And I appreciate and continue to look forward to our conversations. Thank you.